either one of these any good?
Wow, this is a good movie.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, well, the director from yesterday doesn't think so.
It stinks.
You sorry? You waste our film.
It's so bad.
Oh, we are chock full of mostly goodness, I think, this week in the screening room, and welcome to it. She is Hope Madden.
He's George Wolf.
We are from madwolf.com, and we will start with a big one this week. After a family tragedy, 3 generations of the Dietz family return home to Winter River, still haunted by Beetlejuice. Lydia's life is turned upside down when her teenage daughter Astrid accidentally opens the portal to the afterlife. It's Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice.
Can't believe Grandpa's dead.
Death is hard.
Yeah, sometimes I think life is harder.
When I was a teenager, a trickster demon terrorized our entire family and tried to force me to marry him. I believed he was gone forever until you found this in the attic.
Ew. Who's Beetlejuice?
Don't ever say that name.
Beetlejuice.
No, Astrid! I am serious. If you say his name 3 times, he will appear.
Beetlejuice.
The juice is loose. I'm gonna make you so happy.
Let me say, first of all, that Lydia Dietz would 100% have named her daughter Astrid. There's no question about it.
You approve of that?
I totally approve of it.
Yeah, it's been 36 years
That's
since
crazy.
the original. I think it's safe to say that the original, I liked it, but it had much more of an impact on one of us than the other.
Oh, yeah, for sure. When I was a kid in, small town Ohio and watched this movie, Lydia Dietz was like, that's a thing we could be. Lydia Dietz, oh my God, she was so great. And promptly, I went out and got the most hideous bangs you've ever seen.
Well, she is back. Winona Ryder is back. And, of course, Michael Keaton is back. And, she's got, Lydia has a daughter, Astrid, played by Jenna Ortega. And they are back in Winter River. Lydia's father has passed away. And her stepmom is dealing with that. Well, in a certain way, she's not. I wouldn't say
in a very Delia way.
Yeah, very Delia. Of course, Catherine O'Hara, love her as always, is back, and in a very Delia way. But we're not going to get into the plot and give anything away. But I think the synopsis summed it up. Astrid gets in trouble.
Yep.
With the afterlife, a boy kind of leads her down the wrong path. We'll say that's all we'll say. And then Lydia has to ask her old friend Beetlejuice maybe for some help.
Yeah, it's a fun setup, and we were talking about this before we saw the movie that. When Tim Burton, out of the gates was it was crazy. It was crazy because, of course, his first movie was, for me, his absolute masterpiece, which is Pee-wee's Big Adventure. He made this movie and he made Batman, which 100% changed comic book and superhero cinema forever. And it was just remarkable that those were his first 3 really major motion pictures. And so I was a little nervous about the Beetlejuice sequel, partly because I really did not like the first trailer. The first trailer was, for me, it was nothing but fan service. And I thought, well, that's just a rehash. I don't want to see that. But that is not what the movie was. There were a lot of new ideas and just like fun, realistic kind of extensions of the characters that we kind of grew to love back when we were kids.
Yeah, and an interesting list of writers. A couple of the writers were involved in Smallville. They were involved in the Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire. And also I Am Number 4. Yikes.
Yeah.
But I think they do a good job here of getting a story that, as you said in the written review, doesn't seem much like a cash grab. I mean, it's an organic story. I mean, you can go along with it, and it keeps the same sort of spirit of the original. And of course, you've got the cast that you love to see.
Oh yeah,
Michael Keaton. Forget it. Everybody knows how great he is in that.
He's super fun. He's so fun. And the shrunken head guy.
Yeah.
There's a whole, which I'm not giving anything away. It's in all the trailers. There's a whole like room full of shrunken head guys, Bob and Bob's assistants, and they're a stitch. And Catherine O'Hara is hilarious, and Justin Theroux.
Yeah, Justin Theroux.
He's really funny in this too.
Yeah.
He's a new character. He's funny.
He's a new character. Yeah, he plays Lydia's boyfriend, and he's just weird. You've also got some cameos, we aren't going to mention. And yeah, the tiny head guy. I love the whole look of
Bob.
this. I love the whole look of this because it looks so close to the original, but yet, of course, the effects are better because it's 36 years later. So you keep the same look, the sandworms and all that stuff. It looks the same, but yet it looks better.
Right.
Which I loved.
Right, absolutely. It's fun. I mean, it's I don't know. Is it as good as the first one? No, but when the first one was so original, and you can't ever match that, right? Nothing. The second one cannot, by definition, be original like that. So. But it's fun. It's very much fun.
It is fun. They do have. There's no Harry Belafonte this time. They do have some fun with some songs.
Yeah.
Get a little Jimmy Buffett in there.
They
Get a
do.
little Bee Gees. They also really like MacArthur Park this time. Both versions.
Yeah,
both hit versions.
The culminating MacArthur Parks. That goes on too long
little
for me. It
long,
goes on a
little
little
bit
bit
long.
longer for me, but that's okay. And Monica Bellucci, she's fun in this.
Yes, that's right. She's a woman from Beetlejuice's past that has a score to settle. Let's put it that way. And the thing about Michael Keaton's original Beetlejuice, he was under so much makeup that 36 years later, he really looks the same.
He does.
Because
he hasn't aged a day.
No, not because he still looks like a ghoul, But, they find ways to explain, why Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin aren't around. Because originally when I saw the cast, I'm like, oh, I wonder. But they explain that away, and it all seems very believable, for this type of story and very organic. And, yeah, even though I didn't love the first one as much as you did, I had a lot of fun with this.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And I think people that did love it as much as you, and a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
Will really be satisfied.
It's a beloved film.
Yeah, we'll really be satisfied with this. And it's one that Tim Burton, it's such a Tim Burton film, and it feels like his best in a while.
Yeah, I think that was another reason that I was a little nervous about it, is that, his films have not been super great of late. I know that that he does the series, Wednesday series, which is fun. He doesn't direct all of those, and it's very hit or miss, to be honest with you. It's got some iconic images and ideas, but the series is a little hit or miss. But his films have not been great for a while, so I was nervous about this. But this is very much true to form. This is the good Tim Burton.
And there's one I didn't even mention this to you. See if you agree. There's one black and white sequence in this that I thought really recalled The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yes, very much.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, or Frank and Weenie.
Yeah, Frank and Weenie
yeah.
too. Yeah, very much so. But it's a lot of fun. I think if you've been waiting on this and we're hoping I hope it doesn't disappoint. I don't think it will.
No.
I think this will be a crowd pleaser and one that is worth it. 36 years later, Beetlejuice. Got a thriller next. It tells the story of a newly pregnant couple who are forced to take in an ailing, estranged stepmother. It is The Front Room.
She thinks that the Holy Spirit possesses her and gives her power.
I'm the problem, I'm the villain.
You must be my Norman's Belinda. Belinda, I thought you were supposed to have more interesting names.
What is a more interesting name?
She wants to replace me.
I'm the villain,
She's taking over the house.
I'm the villain.
My work is in the spirit. Mommy, cast out the bad one. Belinda.
My name is Belinda. Belinda.
That's on me, that's on me.
Get out of my house! She got what she deserved.
Let's go, I'ma kick.
So this is an A24 movie, and it is co-written and directed by Sam and Max Eggers, Robert Eggers' brothers, who have worked with Robert Eggers, on The Lighthouse, and all of his films. And so that's, that's kind of heavy baggage, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're coming into this, the trailer made me think, have I not seen this movie already? So I gotta say, I kind of went into it with lowish expectations, except that the crazy mother-in-law is played by Katherine Hunter, who you pointed out to me. I mean, just from the trailer, I'm like, whoever that lady is, she's awesome. You pointed out to me, she's the witches in Macbeth with Denzel Washington.
So great.
She's so great in that movie, and this is clearly a very different role for her, and she is just glorious in this movie. Glorious. She's funny, she's scary, she's weird, she's so committed, she's so all in, and just, her physical sort of horror is so perfect. Brandy Norwood plays the lead character. She's very, very pregnant when she goes to her father-in-law's funeral. She's never met her father-in-law before. She's never really met her husband's family at all before, Norman. What they've learned is that, as you know from the trailer, that they inherit all of the family's money. They can pay off their house. They can pay off all of their debt if they take in her mother-in-law, if this woman can come and live with them. She says yes right away, but she has to convince her husband, who does not want it to happen.
And he's played by Andrew Burnap.
And the whole movie, there's so many times where you think, she really should have put her foot down by now. Like, you know what I mean? And it's a little bit irritating, but at the same time, blended families are like that. It's weird. Other people's families, no matter who you are, other people's families are weird. Mm-hmm. They're weird to you, as your family is to all other people. And I think that's what this movie really exploits. You keep expecting it to become something. Like, you know what I mean? And that's really sleight of hand. They know what you think is going on and what's going to happen. But it really is about just how unpleasant it can be to be forced to be family with somebody else.
And I think this could be one. There are movies that have gotten A24 reputation of sometimes not delivering on the movie that the marketing makes you think you're getting. That could be one here. I mean, it's a thriller. It's rated R, but that's really just for language.
Yeah.
And it's not
feces.
It's
there's a lot of M-E-double-S.
Right. It's not a horror film. Don't expect that. But it's smart in the way it twists your expectations of what is uncomfortable and how things can be wielded for power without giving away too much here. But Katherine Hunter is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
And it's an interesting setup. If you go where they're leading you, I think, and not go in expecting to see a horror movie with a bunch of blood or a classic thriller, I think you might be impressed by the way they take the story in a different direction.
Yes.
And that is The Front Room, in theaters now. Let's go to Netflix next. A former Marine grapples his way through a web of small-town corruption when an attempt to post bail for his cousin escalates into a violent standoff with the local police chief. It's the latest from Jeremy Saulnier, Rebel Ridge.
What are we looking at?
Oh. I think he's Marine Corps Martial Arts, MCMAP. One mind, any weapon.
Whatever you decide to do, you do it damn far from here. You enter this town again, so go another route.
Something's up. Chief is willing to kill to keep us from finding out.
You ain't ever gonna be safe.
These cops might end up on top, but they don't get any more outs.
Suspect is armed. He goes down. He does not get back up.
It's gotten out of hand. People getting hurt now. So I was thinking, what if we just walk away?
Well, now you're starting to talk.
But I was like, nah.
We were excited about this one because we love Jeremy Saulnier.
Yes.
So, right, Green Room, if you haven't.
Green Room, Blue Ruin, Murder Party.
Yeah,
he's good. And this is the best Netflix film that's come along in a while. This is just like a modern-day Western. You've got Terry, who's the former Marine. He's played by Aaron Pierre, who we saw recently he was the rapper in Old. And then he's going to be heard as the voice of Mufasa in the upcoming prequel. But he is the stoic, the quiet, but still a badass former Marine, and he's coming through town. He's actually riding his bicycle, and this small southern town, I think in Alabama, and he's got all this cash because he has to bail out his cousin before his cousin is taken to like state prison because earlier he had cooperated with the authorities in a case against a drug lord. So anyway, if his cousin gets to population in a state prison, he's going to be in trouble. So Terry wants to make sure that doesn't happen, but he's picked up by the cops. All his money, his thousands of dollars, is taken under the civil asset forfeiture, I think it's called. And it just sets a lot of events in motion that make Terry take on this entire corrupt police force of this small town, including the chief, played by Don Johnson, and all of his officers. They've got quite a little scheme going on here. And there's a reason for it that they get into later, and it goes all the way up to the judge in town, who's played by James Cromwell.
Crazy.
Who really pops in for just a couple of scenes. But Terry gets a friend in the courthouse, played by Anna Sophia Robb. Her name is Summer, and she's almost a lawyer. She's not quite there yet, but she's working a lot with the law, and knows what's going on with the police force, and quickly becomes about the only friend that Terry has in town. And the more they get deeper into it, a couple of times he tries to walk away, he tries to cut a deal to get out of town, and they just keep pulling him back in. I mean, this is a classic Western kind of setup. Stranger, he's pulled to this town and he has to clean it up. And the morality of the violence, there's a reason, there's a justification for the violence, that's coming. And I have to say, it's pretty satisfying when it does come, because these guys are corrupt as they come, and payback is coming. And when it does, it is very satisfying. Plus, Jeremy Saulnier is such a skilled filmmaker.
Yeah, oh my God,
the way he even a shot like being pulled over. Later, he's pulled over again many times when he's driving, and the way he shoots it with the cop's face on one side of the screen, and then you see it through the side mirror. I mean, everything is just set up just so. He really is a craftsman with this sort of thing, and the action is well staged, and the performances are good, and it's one that draws you in. It's pretty the stakes are easily drawn. It makes you you want this revenge. These guys are so corrupt, and it's one that's really. I will say it's a tad long.
Yeah,
it is a tad long, but it is really, really good. And this is one that Netflix can be proud of, because they've had a few duds recently in their original movies. But this one is good. If you like a good, solid, modern day Western type thriller, this is the one. And it's called Rebel Ridge on Netflix right now. Next up on VOD, it's a story of a brilliant young misfit from Texas who finds her morals challenged while serving in the U.S. Air Force and working as an NSA contractor. This one's called Winner.
Your job is to monitor Iranian aerospace. Everything else is need to know.
What if I need to know who got eliminated on The Bachelorette?
Not on office computers. But you can come ask me. I keep up.
I mean, you'd at least want to look, right? Be honest. The government 100% knew the Russians hacked our voting systems days before the election.
We received a report that you mishandled some classified information.
Crazy.
Were you aware that your daughter hates America? My daughter isn't a terrorist.
If no one ever takes a risk to try and change things, then nothing will ever change.
Which is based on a true story of a woman named Reality Winner.
Right. And
that's quite a name.
A very different take on this story just came last year it was called Reality, and that starred Sydney Sweeney. And that was an interesting take on it. That was what they call, I guess, verbatim theater or verbatim drama, where the whole thing, the script was the actual transcript from the body cam, the recording of when FBI agents went to arrest this real-life woman for leaking secrets. And that was the script. And it's such a different take on this. You may remember this from the headlines. There also was a documentary about it. Well, this one, it's directed by Susanna Fogel, and the writer is Carrie Howley, based on her article. And she actually did a lot of interviews with the real woman. That's her real name, Reality Winner. And this time she is played by Emilia Jones, who was so good in Coda a few years ago. Yeah, and it takes such a I, Tanya approach, or maybe an Adam McKay type approach to these real life events. She narrates it as it goes along, and as opposed to the other film, Reality, which just focuses on really this one event, the arrest. This goes back to her childhood. She grew up with a different type of parents. Her dad, played by Zach Galifianakis, in a nice role. It's not a strictly comedic role at all.
No.
He's troubled a bit, but she early on learns pretty much from him to be, an activist and try to right wrongs and things like that. And she's really changed, as so many of us were, by 9/11, and especially people of her age that she was in high school during that time. She started teaching herself Arabic when she was in high school to try to, with a goal down the line of trying to bridge the gap between these two different cultures so that things like that wouldn't happen. And that was her goal.
As a translator.
As a translator. Well, eventually because she stood out to the recruiters in town when they came to her high school. This woman teaches herself Arabic. She eventually was convinced to join the Air Force, and her goal was to be a translator and try to, make these cultures understand each other a little bit better. Well, of course, they don't send her to be a translator. They send her to just stay here at Fort Meade and translate recordings that they have made of the locals. And anytime she hears something suspicious, like the word package or something like that, well, a drone could come in and take care of that right away, which of course makes her feel very guilty, and she has this way of dealing with the results of her actions. So eventually, as the movie points out, a lot of people in her situation did, after they spent some years with their service obligation, they took the money of the NSA, much better pay, and went to work for them. And that's when she started being privy to some of these secrets, some of these classified documents, especially the ones that she leaked, had to do with Russian interference in the 2016 election. And the movie shows how she would sit there and be forced to listen to Fox News all day because that's what they mandated. They played in the offices, and hear these pundits say things that she knew not to be true. And she ended up, yes, leaking one of the documents to an online site that she followed. And it's really funny now because we were just talking about this last night. Someone sitting in this office on computers with a top secret clearance didn't realize or think how easily that could be traced.
Right.
The computers that she uses to print something or to look up a website, she was found so easily. And eventually given I think they said the longest sentence of anybody with a case like hers. It was over 5 years that she was given a sentence for. And this one gets into more of the reasons why she did it, the reasons behind it in a more comedic tone, which on one hand is more entertaining as a movie, but yet especially with some of the things that are just coming out today in the news with this proven Russian influence and all these paid influencers that they've had on their payroll. You almost feel like, shouldn't it have taken more of a stand?
Yeah.
Yeah. It is entertaining, a way to look at it, and if it gets you to maybe dig into more of the real events about this woman who's now out, and I think she's working as a CrossFit instructor. It's worth it that way. So it's not a bad movie. It is entertaining, but you just wish it had a little bit more of a bite to it, a worldview of it, of its own. But the performances are very good. Emilia Jones, like I said, is good, and Zach Galifianakis. Connie Britton plays her mom, and Catherine Newton, who we see a lot of times in more lead roles. She plays Reality's sister in kind of a smaller part, but it's always good to see her as well. So all in all, definitely worth checking out and maybe learning more about the situation for yourself. But it's an entertaining take on it, and it is out now, called Winner on VOD. Well, let's go back to a horror mystery thriller, and it is in theaters now. A model becomes obsessed with a high-profile murder trial in Red Rooms.
Pour ce que je vais vous infliger.
Je demande à tous ceux et celles qui ne sont pas concernés de bien vouloir quitter la salle d'audience sur le champ.
It can be very difficult to keep tensions and action high in a film that's about a lot of computer whatnot. You see a lot of a face, you see a lot of clicking of keys. And it can also be really hard to keep tensions high in a courtroom drama. And this film bounces back and forth between those two things as this woman goes every day to the Chevalier case. He has been accused of horrific crimes. And then we follow her back to her apartment where she just makes herself a smoothie and does some clicking around online. And then she goes back and back. It's back and forth. But I can't remember the last thriller that had me so on the edge of my seat that I was because you're never certain what the hell she is up to. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't let you in. It is a brilliant performance.
And the star is Juliette Garipi. I probably mispronounced that.
She's amazing.
And
She's wonderful.
The writer-director is Pascal Plante, and this is a French film.
It's Canadian. It's Quebecois.
Okay.
And they are in
That's
Quebec.
Why they're speaking French.
They are speaking French. But they're in Quebec, and this man has been accused of... So red rooms are places you can go on the dark web, which is another, red flag of a bad thriller is when they use that phrase. But this is really quite good. But anyway, it's a place you don't want to go. And thank God we see very little of what went on in these red rooms, the crimes that this man is accused of. And the lead character, Kellyanne, we know that she's a model. We don't know very much else about her. And the performance is so, it's the whole film is like a comment on isolation and kind of how, I think the pandemic just took a society that was moving toward this, and it just escalated to a degree where it became quite dehumanizing. Mm-hmm. And the film sort of asks, when being just a spectator becomes being the bad guy, irretrievably the bad guy. And the whole thing is just so often not just reflected in her face, but in her reflection on her screen of her face. It's so masterfully put together.
That's a clever way to do it.
Yeah, it's so masterfully put together. And again, toward the end, the way that it just ramps up the tension is also quite remarkable. This one is in select theaters right now. I so recommend seeing it.
Definitely. Red Rooms in select theaters now, and hopefully getting a wider rollout in the weeks ahead. But that is definitely a recommendation this week. Next up is the first release in a 3-picture series available on VOD. And full disclosure, we know a lot of people involved in the making of these films. And this one takes you into the world of a neo-Nazi metal band. It is Wolves Against the World.
Whatever you got going on out here, I can't be a part of it.
Tonight we welcome a new brother. Hans.
You said you were done with the movement.
I am. I've outgrown it.
I did a lot of work to not be that guy anymore.
Just remember, I'm not the only murderer in this room.
We're all wolves. All just circling and snarling and snapping at each other.
See you in hell, monster.
This was written and directed by Quinn Armstrong, and we got the chance actually last week to do the Q&A as he was here in town with the first of the 3 movies in this series, and that was called The Exorcism of St. Patrick. And then next week, they released the third, which is called Dead Teenagers. And it's not exactly a franchise. I mean, the 3 films have nothing to do with each other.
Exactly, right.
They just filmed them all at the same time in the same location, but they're very, very different films.
Yeah, you might see it under the Fresh Hell, the Fresh Hell series.
Right.
But they're filmed all here in Ohio and not connected, just with cast and crew and filmmakers.
Right. And this one, it's really a very intimate film about one man who goes to seek out his childhood best friend, and he's on parole, our main character. We don't know exactly what he did, but we know that the 2 of them got into trouble together because they had been in this neo-Nazi metal band. And so one of the things that's interesting about this movie is that automatically, and rightly so, you hate these 2 people. And you're hoping that your lead character has gotten past his hateful feelings. Early on, he's trying to get a tattoo removed from his back. You don't see it, but you have the sense.
Yes.
So, and then you don't really know, and actually Quinn Armstrong plays the best friend that he goes to meet, and he is living a kind of, off the land, and he's got this men's outreach group, and anyway, one thing leads to another, and in the whole film, it's got such a chaotic energy to it that I think not only matches the metal music vibe of it, but the sort of internal kind of combustion of the vulnerable soul that would be sucked into this all male hatred that is going on. And so it's a very interesting movie, and it's really the way that the movie is filmed matches the tone of the movie so perfectly.
And that is on VOD now, part of the Fresh Hell series. This one is called Wolves Against the World. Let's go to Shudder next. Tells the story of Graham, Jake, and Philip Riley and their deceased father. Their paths collide when a family secret is discovered, leading their father's garage to become the site of revenge from beyond the grave. The Demon Disorder.
It's Philip. You need to come home. What do you expect me to do? Maybe he'll open up to you.
Has it occurred to you Philip's just traumatized by what happened?
He's still with us. He's coming back.
Philip.
What the hell is it? That thing is like a parasite. I think this thing needs to grow until it's strong enough. Strong enough for what? To live on its own.
Guys, we received a call from this address.
I can reassure you that everything is fine.
Yeah. I'm afraid we're going to have to insist.
This movie reminded me in a weird way of the movie Relic, which was the story of a woman and her daughter who were taking care of the woman's mother who has dementia. And it's just this kind of reflective family saga. It's a horror film, and in that case, it's kind of a supernatural horror film, but it's really very much echoing with not only watching a parent turn into something you don't recognize, but realizing what life probably has in store for you. Demon Disorder does very much the same thing in a very different way because it is essentially a creature feature. This hereditary problem that they are facing with they had faced with their father who's dead and now they're afraid is going to infect them all is actually this globulous, disgusting monster slug thing. And that's what I think it does the best is create these nasty beasts that they sort of pull physically from each other's bodies and then lose track of too often, to be honest with you. There are several different beasts, and they're very disgusting and nasty, and they make you want to reach for, like, the disinfectant. And that's really cool. And a lot of the performances are quite good, too. The film, for me, doesn't hold together all that well. It's like a supernatural film. There's too much kind of religious imagery that doesn't go anywhere when eventually what we find out is that it is like a globby monster. Although the camaraderie and the sort of lived-in anger among the brothers feels very realistic. So I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it.
This is the feature debut for co-writer and director Stephen Boyle, and it's on Shudder now, called The Demon Disorder. Hey, speaking of horror movies, before we get into the rest here, we should say you may have heard about a new horror movie on YouTube for free called Milk and Cereal that we finally checked out last night. And very interesting. I mean, to think of where this could be, leading down the road. I mean, for just put out YouTube for free. I mean, it's an hour long, so it's not exactly feature length, not a short film either. But it's interesting. They do a lot of things right. There are a couple of clunks here and there, but man, to just do something that's obviously very micro budget and just put it up for free on YouTube, it was pretty impressive.
Oh yeah, I was very impressed by it. I was invested the whole time, and I think that it was genuinely quite creepy.
Yeah, and definitely taps into a a current events type of thing. I hate to always use the word zeitgeist, but it kind of does. I mean, these guys are pranksters. They do prank videos, and it's a lot about, gaslighting and manufactured reality. Who can I believe? Who are my friends? So it really taps into a current anxiety and does it pretty well. It's milk and cereal spelled like serial killer.
Right.
But it's free on YouTube, so check it out. Go to a comedy on VOD. The victim of a hit and run learns how to be a psychic so he can find the car that hit him and take revenge on the driver. It's called The Paragon.
That's how long they reckon my heart stopped for. The car that hit me just drove off.
But if the cops can't find him, then how the hell are you going to find him?
I know what you search for, Dutch. Are you the one who seeks psionic power?
I want to meet the prick that did this to me.
Physical pain is nothing. If you master even the basic precepts of psionic power without going insane, you will face dilemmas that will shake the very foundations of your consciousness. And then you will understand. Cosmic pain.
I don't believe in that woo-woo bullshit, okay?
Come with me. I can prove it to you.
Yeah, this is a cult. You've joined a cult, bro.
Who are you? We are seekers from another plane of existence.
What the hell is going on?
Well, I can get behind this goal. Be a psychic so I can find the car that hit me. I'm on board.
Yeah, it is funny in that way because it's so absurd and petty, but funny. It doesn't sort of transcend that. Like, it doesn't dig deeper, but it does have a great kind of oddball 1-2 punch with the two leads. Dutch, played by Benedict Wall, and Lyra, played by Florence Noble. They're quite an odd couple. And there's just, it's kind of charming and fun and quirky and weird, and it is often quite funny. Rachel Willis reviewed this one for us at madwolf.com.
And this is writer-director Michael Dugnan. Again, hope I pronounced that correct. But check out Rachel's review at madwolf.com for The Paragon. Also on VOD, a comedy romance and drama. An emotionally adrift young woman forges an unexpected friendship with a wilderness guide when she and her fiance take a summer holiday in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. It's called Peak Season.
Well, good luck being a skid.
Oh, I make my own luck, cowgirl.
Bye.
Bye.
What'd you get up to today?
Did a long hike with Lauren, the fishing guide.
So 10 million years ago, the Earth's crust formed these faults that produce earthquakes. And this slow pressure over time created this magnificent geological feature we see before us.
How was hanging with Lauren? You guys have fun?
What's Max like?
He's very smart, very ambitious. Always figured we'd get married, and now that is imminent, it's a bit scary.
Well, you deserve to be with someone great.
Thank you.
You all right?
Yeah, I just wish I didn't overthink things all the time.
You're gonna feel better when you get home, I promise.
You have to go.
Do you have to say? This must happen to you all the time, huh?
No, not like this.
Matt Weiner reviewed this one for us at madwolf.com and just thought that this was a real charmer. It's got great chemistry. It has gorgeous views, right? The production values are amazing because of the Tetons in the background the whole time. The performances are great. And it has something to say, really, about kind of this a culture clash and people who have tons of money and then just go kind of exploit a nice area for their quick trips, and then they go back home, as opposed to the people that they are exploiting who are trying to find a way to make a living and not succumb to this capitalist lifestyle. But mainly you're going to enjoy it for the relationship between the leads and the lovely performances.
Yeah, and the writers and directors, Stephen Kantner and Henry Lovner, and the leads, Amy Jimenez and Derek Joseph DeBlasis. And Matt was saying that it was the same way in a lot of these rom-coms. You know where it's going. I mean, you've got a couple, and then one half of the couple meets somebody else, and is that who I'm supposed to be with? So you know where it's going. How does it get there? And what does it have to say on the way? And I think Matt was pretty impressed, and you can check out his full review at madwolf.com. He enjoyed Peak Season on VOD now. Another one on VOD, a horror thriller. 3 brothers return to the remote woodland where they killed their abusive father, only to discover his shallow grave is now empty, forcing them to question one another's loyalty with devastating consequences as fear and paranoia set in. It's called Betrayal.
So if we get caught, are we still saying that I did it?
Dad's gone. Nobody's going to jail. It's gonna be okay.
The key for the safe, give me it. I threw it in.
We need that key! We have to go back, dig it up. He was dead.
Then what is he then?
He's angry.
You think we should tell Henry the truth?
Absolutely not. Lie to me, George! She deserves justice.
That wouldn't be justice.
That'd be revenge.
This was reviewed by Brandon Thomas at MadWolf.com, and boy, did he like this movie.
Oh yeah, it's so complicated. You know, these brothers are out hunting with their dad, who we know has just been brutal to them their whole lives, and so you want to kind of just go, you want to root for them. But that's not what this movie does. It twists the knife, and it's kind of like monsters create monsters, but it's just so well done. The performances are so amazing, and the direction really is, again, as a second just outstanding thriller this week.
Yeah, the co-writer and director Roger Griffiths, and it is called Betrayal. Really good, really recommended. Check out Brandon's review at madwolf.com, but Betrayal is on VOD now. Well, we've had a lot of recommendations so far this week. Unfortunately, we end on a down note with a horror film on VOD. A group of friends embark on a road trip to a music festival oblivious to the supernatural horrors that await them along the way. It's called Don't Turn Out the Lights.
I have planned a weekend filled with sex, drugs.
The Blue Light Music Festival! Blue light! Blue light! Happy birthday to me! Hola mundo, it's your girl Gabster here.
And we are in the middle of nowhere.
Jason! What the hell's going on, man? Everybody hold on to something!
Whoa. Okay, no one's gonna die on my birthday, okay? I'm calling the cops. I lost the signal again.
Anyone got a signal?
I'm sure that you've heard this before, but we might be kind of lost.
Michael, what the hell is
What the hell is...
Stop it. Who is this?
Stop it. Who is this?
What do you want?
Yeah, Christy Robb drew the short straw this week for us at madwolf.com, and she liked the setup. It's a bunch of kids in an RV on the road. It's a good setup. It just squanders everything, and it doesn't really come to any sort of conclusion.
Yeah,
there's a lot of very one-dimensional characters, nobody that you root for, nobody that you care about, and it just doesn't live up to its potential at all.
And specifically, she was talking about how not only are you waiting for a payoff, not only is the payoff not satisfactory, there's really not one there.
Right.
Any payoff whatsoever, which is pretty frustrating. For Don't Turn Out the Lights, Christy Robb's review on madwolf.com, but wasn't really impressed with that one. It's on VOD now.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
Lobby time, that is Daniel Baldwin time. It's Schlocketeer time with the latest studio news and notes. What's shaking?
Well, let's start off with a bunch of things that people can watch right now.
Right now?
Always a good. Yeah, right now. Ishana Shyamalan's The Watchers is now available to stream on Max. Sasquatch Sunset is now available to stream on Paramount Plus, and M. Night Shyamalan's Trapped is now available on VOD. And if anyone's feeling a bit more adventurous, India's answer to Dune this year, which is the sci-fi epic Kalki 2989 AD, is now available on both Netflix and Amazon Prime.
I'll give a shout out to Sasquatch Sunset.
Oh,
really
for sure.
like that.
Yeah.
That's like nothing you've ever seen.
Big time. And also, in a surprise move, Apple TV Plus quietly premiered the director's cut of Ridley Scott's Napoleon out of the blue last week. It is 48 minutes longer than the theatrical edition.
Wow. Quietly is right.
They were sneaky with it.
Sneaky. That's Ridley Scott. He just has sneaky written all over him,
doesn't he?
And moving on, Rupert Saunders' remake of The Crow will hit premium VOD on September 13th. And
Quick
then
turnaround there.
Yeah, quick.
Very quick. Everything else I have for you is from Netflix because they're kicking off pretty much an entire month of horror and thriller premieres in October.
Nice.
First up on October 4th is a pair of films. The first one is The Platform 2, and the second is a horror comedy called It's What's Inside.
Okay, cool.
On October 17th, they are premiering the latest film from Night Comes For Us and May the Devil Take You filmmaker Timo Tjahjanto. He has a new martial arts action thriller titled The Shadow Strays. Looks pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And they've set an October 18th premiere for a based-on-true events serial killer thriller called Woman of the Hour, which both stars and was directed by Anna Kendrick.
Ooh.
All right.
And they've set an October 23rd premiere for a French werewolf horror comedy called Family Pack. An October 25th premiere for a Sam Raimi-produced thriller called Don't Move. And lastly for you, I've got an October 30th premiere for their genre mashup horror comedy Time Cut, which was written by freaky screenwriter Michael Kennedy and is produced by Happy Death Day filmmaker Christopher Landon.
Okay.
It's described as a cross between Scream and Back to the Future.
Which there was one of those. What was that movie that
Totally
was very much like it?
off.
Totally Killer.
Totally Killer.
Was kind of like that.
Well, that's how I would have described that movie.
Exactly. Interesting. And I like that too. Okay. Appreciate it as always. You can always catch up with Daniel on the socials at The Schlocketeer. Have a great weekend.
Hey, you too. Thanks for having me.
Looking ahead to next week, we've got the remake of just a gut punch of a foreign film from, a couple of years ago called Speak No Evil. So we see how that goes.
And we have the new one from Kevin Smith, 4:30 movie.
Aubrey Plaza in My Old Ass.
Also, Close Your Eyes.
Subservience.
Booger. I know, I hate that word so much.
I was going to say it for you because you didn't want to say it.
I hate that word.
Also one called The Critic.
Wineville.
And Happy Campers. So we'll see what's going on with all of those next week. But, a lot of movies to talk about this week. What do you think? Beetlejuice, or The Front Room, Netflix's Rebel Ridge? What's going on? Keep the conversation going. As always, you can find us easily at Mad Wolf Columbus. You can find us on Threads. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. Plenty of ways. Love it when you keep the conversation going. And by the way, we didn't even say apologies for last week. We were out.
We
were more than tardy. We didn't show up.
Nope, not at all.
Technical difficulties, so we apologize for that. But keep in touch if you can. Have a great week. And until next week, she is Hope Metz.
He's George Wolf.
And this is the Screening Room Podcast.
See ya.
I do wish we could chat longer, but I'm having an old friend for dinner. Bye.
Okay, everybody, that's a wrap.